Hello and welcome back to the Book Marketing Tips and Author Success Podcast. This is Penny Sansevieri and Amy Cornell. I'm looking forward to this was a show idea that Amy came up with. We talking about claiming your author profile on Goodreads, which I got to tell you, Amy, initially, first off, I always love learning more about Goodreads from you because even though I can noodle around with Amazon and talk about Amazon all day long, Goodreads is not really my forte. I leave that to you, the expert. But also, what's interesting is that when you first shared the show idea with me, I was like, I don't know if claiming your author profile in Goodreads is really going to be interesting enough for our listeners. But then as you started to expand on it and we sat in the green room and we sort of talked about the show idea, I realized how challenging I mean, maybe not necessarily challenging, but first off, how important it is, but also how, that there are no shortcuts really to doing this, I guess, for lack of
No,
saying it.
yeah, no, you're very right. It is one of those things. And, it's the frustrating part, Penny. And I think that's one of the reasons I also wanted to cover it is that we do a lot of Goodreads campaigns for our clients. And some of them, they get through the gauntlet quickly, easily. It's not a problem. Other clients, and I don't even want to say this because I don't want to freak anybody out that's listening, but sometimes they go round and round 3, 4, 5 times with Goodreads and before they finally get accepted. And it's a process, but there are ways to kind of cut that down that I've figured out learning from the client experience and things like that. So I thought if we could chat about that and share those tips with people listening, hopefully save them some time later if they're not already a Goodreads author.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So and the last time that we actually did a Goodreads show, I think we did 2 or 3 episodes, and this was a couple of years ago. So much has changed in Goodreads.
Yep.
Tell me about some of the biggest changes in regards to the author profile.
I think, and it really makes sense because Goodreads is owned by Amazon. That's nothing new. A lot of people know that now, but maybe not everybody listening knows that. And Amazon, if anybody listening has an Amazon account, you know how seriously Amazon takes your security. I mean, it's good, but also really inconvenient. It's
Yeah.
kind of like your bank watching out for you. You know what I mean? Like you always appreciate it, but in the moment you're like, like just let me do this. But so they do take their security very seriously, and it's valid because what they really don't want to do is risk giving your author profile, which is control over your works, your image, things like that, to an imposter or a hacker. And this may seem like way over the top. You're like, oh, why would anybody want to impersonate me? But honestly, we did a show not that long ago about the issue with AI generated books appearing under authors' names without their
Yes.
consent or permission. And so this is a real thing. There are ways that authors are getting misrepresented both on Amazon and on Goodreads. And so this elevated level of security in order to claim your author profile on Goodreads is for a very good reason, albeit very frustrating. But it's true. Goodreads, and I think another reason, I think we've both seen it, Penny, probably a lot of people listening have as well. Amazon is trying to integrate Goodreads ratings and things like that more often in search results and for books as well. You'll see that on individual retail pages. So I think the more Amazon is testing, kind of incorporating different elements of Goodreads with their system, that's another reason why Goodreads really had to get serious about their security and who they're giving access to their kind of back end features, to control books, make changes to books, run giveaways, things like that.
That's
And
really
so,
Yeah, that's really amazing. And actually, not to interrupt you, but I've started to
no,
see that. So I taught an Amazon session for IBPA about a month ago, and we talked about that in the class. And what's really funny is nobody in this class, and this was a fairly advanced group, were aware that Goodreads ratings rather, were starting to show up on retail pages. Like they were completely unaware of that.
Yeah, I mean it's a big deal. And I
A big
definitely
deal.
notice that
Yeah.
when a book comes up because I think it's still kind of a pervasive issue, I guess, in the industry. I think there's still kind of a love-hate relationship with Goodreads because for a lot of authors because the readers are known for being no nonsense. Like these are super fans, super genre fan readers, and they have high standards, and that can be scary for some authors, you know.
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
but when you see a book pop up on Amazon and it's got a 3.5 on Goodreads, you know, I take notice of that. I'm like, listen, if it's doing that well on Goodreads with those super fans, these people that are reading a lot in very specific genres and topics, that carries a lot of weight. Like that's some good street cred.
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
So let's move on. This is like now it's the big reveal. So sorry if it's not as exciting as everybody thought, but my number one recommendation for ensuring you make it through the Goodreads gauntlet is to make sure your profile, this is your Goodreads profile, this will be your user profile. This the basic one that you get when you sign up as you would if you were a reader. So not your author account. Make sure your profile mirrors your Amazon Author Central profile exactly, like to a T, and you want to optimize both. So what this means is using the same headshot, preferably a professional one. You want to use the exact same bio, make it detailed, make it appropriate for your topic or your genre. You know, we do a lot of shows on how to optimize Amazon, so I'm not going to go into this too much, but essentially you need to take all of those kind of standards and parameters and apply that to your Goodreads presence as well. You definitely want to include a reference to your website if you have one, reference to any social media that you're actively using, that you're proud of, that you're trying to engage with fans on, and then use all the fields. You know, both on Author Central and on Goodreads, they provide you a lot of opportunities to share information about yourself and the work that you do, your inspiration, things like that. Don't don't take those as throwaways. Like really utilize those. These are both of these elements, your Goodreads profile and your Author Central profile are a huge part of your branding. You know, like it or not, it's going to be out there when people search for your work. So you might as well take ownership of it and make sure it's the best version of you out there because you are a business. If you are doing this, you're a business. And this is pretty much mandatory in this day and age, you know, right now, if you want to compete. And so one thing that I've definitely seen, this is what I've seen across the board over and over again with our clients. So I know it's a big factor. If you want to gain access to your Goodreads author profile, you need to make sure you are showing up, you are looking professional, you are matching what's on Amazon, and you know, take yourself seriously because it also shows that you're taking your reader market seriously as well. And that's a big part of your professionalism in publishing, I think, Penny. It's not just how you take yourself, but how you present yourself to readers, you know, the image that you're putting out there.
So, so let me make sure that I understand this. So, if I have not claimed my, let's say I haven't even heard of Author Central, right? Like, oh, what's Author Central? I don't know. Well, um, and I haven't done anything with my Amazon profile. I cannot get access to my Goodreads profile.
It's going to be very difficult because basically Goodreads will ask you to for very specific information. They're going to ask you about your publisher. I mean, they have a list that you go through essentially to submit an application to be in the Goodreads author program. It's not super extensive, but you can tell they take it seriously. And they do absolutely check what you put on there. So if you put a website, they check that website to make sure, you know, does this match up with everything else that we're seeing online? They really use all these checks and balances as a way to prove you are who you say you are. So I would say you know, we don't work with anybody that doesn't have an Author Central that's trying to get onto Goodreads. So I can't say it would be impossible, but I think it's going to be very hard because Amazon is a big component to Goodreads confirming your identity. And having that Author Central profile with a picture, bio, things like that is just a huge chunk of them being able to go, oh, okay, this book clearly belongs to this author. Now, it also, this, book exists on our site and it's dedicated to, it's listed under this author's name. And they really just have to have X number of boxes checked before they will say, yes, we believe you are who you are. Welcome to the Goodreads author program. You can start, managing your books on our platform.
Do you think that, and I know I'm kind of throwing you for a loop here. And by the way, I want to put in a plug for, we have Amazon. We have several Amazon episodes dedicated to Amazon in general, Amazon Author Central. So definitely you want to check those out. But do you think that at some point Goodreads is just going to port all that data over from Author Central into, like, because Amazon owns Goodreads, right? As you've already said. Don't you think that would make sense? That would be more efficient. I'm not that Amazon's ever focused on, sorry, but I mean, let's face it, not that Amazon's ever focused on being efficient. But do you know what I mean?
Right. It would be nice. I think it would be interesting to see how their qualification process would shift. Because if they're automatically going to pull that information, then I think they're going to have to find different ways for you to prove your identity, which will be interesting as well. It may end up integrating with using your Amazon logins. You know what I mean? They may go that far at some point to just really merge access between the two sites, which would be a lot easier for a lot of people. I realize not everybody has, an Amazon account, but we also know, to your point, Amazon does what's in their best interest. So if pushing people to get an account is part of using Goodreads, then I don't see why Amazon wouldn't say, yeah, you just have to do it. It's part of the rules,
Yeah, exactly. I think that potentially that's where this might end up going. And I think that it's really high time, if Amazon's listening, which I don't doubt that they are, but it's really high time that I think that these two sites begin to mirror each other a little bit more, just because Amazon hasn't really made a lot of substantial changes other than the security stuff to Goodreads since they bought it.
No, not really. If anything, they've kind of pared down some of the features, which initially were kind of annoying. But I will say it has made the user experience on Goodreads a little more streamlined. Just there's less distractions on the site, which we know Amazon very much likes to control the user experience as much as they can.
Yeah.
And so I think that was part of some of the paring down of the features. They just really wanted to keep users focused on very specific elements, which they've done. And, giveaways, things like that. So yeah, I would love to see them integrate the two a bit more to kind of make it a little less clunky. But if anybody listening is having issues or you haven't claimed your Goodreads author profile yet, definitely do your homework and get everything organized on Amazon Author Central first, and it'll make this process a lot simpler for you.
That's great. I love that. I love that you thought of this for the show, because I had no idea. But this is also a really good opportunity for them to, and we say this a lot, give all of the things a second look. Take a look and see what your Amazon author profile says. Has it been updated? What your Goodreads author profile says, just to make sure that everything is buttoned up. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming up with this idea, and thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. We don't really mention this enough. I know this was a shorter show than we normally do, but it was definitely important. Y'all spend time with us, and we greatly appreciate that you're spending time listening to the show. We have some people that say that they binge the show. I'm like, how terrifying is that? Like, us in your ear for hours on end. But we always try to make these shows impactful and helpful with one and hopefully more takeaways. So we always appreciate that. Please share our shows with somebody that you think could benefit from it. And we always love reviews wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.